Siyata Dishmaya. I'm now in the end of the Kovet Shiurim, the left column. So until now, you had a kasha from Ayisafta. Why Ayisafta? Because she's allowed to sell. Because she could sell and wouldn't go to the one who continue after her. It destroys the muchzokus of the receiver went after the safta. So why here the fact that he can sell, it doesn't destroy the muchzokus. So he makes a chiluk. The bais that buy a safta, although it's me'achshov, because the whole concept was whatever's left, that's what you got. She never really got it. You never got the intrinsic gift in the assets. It's just whatever, you only got whatever is left. And since there's suffix, maybe nothing going to be left, so you didn't get anything. But by one who gives a small gift on a condition that if you won't retract,
he gave it for real.
So he really gave a condition is something that you could exercise to break, but as long as you exercise, the gift is completely. But by a safta, she never got something intrinsic. She only got whatever's left over. Could be nothing be left over. She didn't get anything. But here I'm giving fully, just an option to break it tonight. So, no, but it's living totally of Tnai and totally in Etzem. By Safta is totally in Etzem, because whatever is left over, so therefore it's a software, I didn't get anything. But by Matonu, which is on Tnai, and also Matonu Muetes, or Makirkun, which is on Tnai, according to the definition of Kovet Shiurim. So if I never exercise the Tnai, the mice is always complete. And the glowing Milsla Mafreya, that I gave it fully. Kinyan Gomo, that's why he's considered Muhzak. He's a Muhzak to the level that he really owns it. However, he brings down the Yad Ramah. The Yad Ramah says that Eretz Yisrael is considered Muhzak for the Jewish people. God promised the land of Israel, but really depends if we do good deeds. If we don't do good deeds, Hashem took it away, threw us out of the land. But since the gift of Hashem to us is a doubt or vadai.
I'm talking about which case? Then you have to read the case.
Yes.
The Gemara there, the Gemara talking about, we're talking in Mitzrayim.
Yes.
We're talking then when they talked about Israel, where Mosek is before, not now, before they came to Israel.
When Hashem promised the land in Israel to the Jewish people in Egypt, there's the Jewish people considered a holder of the land. They were muhzak in the land to give a double share to the Bechoy. So it says, so the Yad Ramah says, depends if it's a suffix or vadai. And only when the Jewish people are considered muhzak in the land of Israel and Egypt, it's only something which is vadai will not take it away from them. Like the gift of Hashem in Israel, vadai Hashem will never retract. It says Hashem will never retract the promised land of Israel. So therefore, the Jewish people in Egypt already considered muhzokim in the land of Eretz Yisrael. But it's mashma that won't be vada, will be a suffix, won't be muhzok. So we see, even though it's a ma'aser, a gift with condition to break, if you don't keep the Torah, and it's not vada, if it won't be vada, a promise, rather a condition to be broken, it's not the Jewish people not considered muhzokim in Mitzrayim. So why by Makir Kun it is considered Vadai, Muhzak? So he answers, it could be the Yad Ramah holds like the Rabbeinu and not like Toysmas. That Makir Kun you cannot retract. Toysmas says it's like Matonu Muetes, you're not to retract. But the Rabbeinu says you cannot retract. Because if he could, it's not Mamun Nishal Koyen. By the way, we see that the Rabbeinu Yoino learned in Toysas not like the Kovet Shiurim. That was his whole problem against the Toysas. How can you learn Toysas that's like Maton Muetes? Is Maton Muetes Mistabro Lon? We learned it Since the Balabai can retract, now it's not his money at all, so how can he inherit double? How can he inherit double and how can he do Maisa and Mokemake? So the Korbit Shurim said Pshat Tois is that is a real matona, real king with a condition to retract. But the Elias Rabbeinu says no. If it was like Makire Kuna Matonu Etes, it wouldn't be his money. No, he says must be that a Gemara that says Makire Kuna means Makire Kuna not like Matonu Etes, Makire Kuna like Takon of Rabbi Yossi. That the Chachom Metakin will be yours. So with the Rabbanon is once with the Rabbanon the father owns it. So then he can give it over to the therefore he owns it with the Rabbanon. So the Bechor gets double. If it wasn't for the din the Rabbanon of Rabbi Yossi Sheosu et Sheno Zoch Kezoiche, it wouldn't work. But what do we see from the Rabbeinu Yoino? That in the Sut Pshan Toises, that he's not Zoiche to the level he's asking how can you makin it? How can you give it as a Yerusha? How can you make kinyan on it? Okay. So he says, that's why the Rabbeinu Yoina said, our Gemara is Rabbi Yossi. So the Yad Ramah that learns that the Jewish people were muchzok in Egypt and the land of Israel because of the Vadai gift, there would be a sofek that you could retract. There wouldn't be a muchzok, even though it's a Tnai Chitzoyin that breaks, because the Yad Ramah learned like the Rabbeinu Yoina that you cannot retract. Like Rabbi Yossi, with the Rabbanon.
Even he can say like not like Rabbi Yoina. Still,
yes.
Like there's a real Hashem promise, really higher.
Yeah.
And tonight,
if we learn, but what do we see there? If Hashem promised at Tanai, the Yad Ramah holds. The Yad Ramah's answer was that Hashem promised under no condition. The gift of Hashem, the land of it says no condition. But he see that he held was conditioned, won't be considered muchzak. He says against Makire Kunos Pshat. So he says you're right. Because the Yad Ramah learns that Maisa with condition, it's not muchzak, and he learns that our Gemara Makire Kuno is not a Maisa with condition, it's not an act with condition with a deny. Rather, he cannot retract because Din Rabbi Yossi, Din Rabbanon, rabbinic law. That they made something which is not merit to be merit, they made it to be merit because he's a Makir Kuno. So now with the Rabbanon is a coin of Vada, there's no condition on it. You cannot retract with the Rabbanon at all. So therefore he can give Yerusha, he can makin it. But he has a kash. Elo, however, I'm reading now 2, 4, 6 lines in the left column of the Korbit Shurim, in the page base in Slabot Kashitz. You have the Korbit Shurim, the left column, 6 lines on the bottom. The Korbit Shurim. Elo de l'shita saramok koshe misof perek hasholech. It says the Yad Ramah that will hold that by myself tonight. It's not considered muchzok. If I give you a gift with condition, so then it doesn't make you a muchzok. It says, Nichoilo, you have a kasha on this, which means Toises is right. That my son, tonight, it is a muchzok. Not like the Yad Ramah. Why? Because if the Yad Ramah is right, kosher miso perka sholeach, we have a problem from the Gemara in the end of Sholeach. It's in Gittin. Perka sholeach. Sholeach is again. It says there, Gabe Sodeh HaChozeres Bayovel. Yeah, we're learning now. Rabbi Yoshua, Torah Lishma. This joke. Gabe Sodeh HaChozeres Bayovel. Reference to the law, a field that retracts in a jubilee year. We have a law that if a Jew sells his inheritance from the tribes, the tribe inheritance, the familia inheritance, family inheritance. So the law is that if the Jew sells his family inheritance, in a jubilee year, the land goes back to him. And not only that, when people buy it, it's a set price, because it's only till the jubilee year.
What about that if I...
And when he wants to redeem, he redeems with a set price, yes.
What about if
somebody build something on top of the property, can you?
So you will get money for it, but the land goes back.
The land goes back.
מדין
But you have to pay for the other value.
Yes, what do you want to say?
שהשדה חוזר, זה מדין נחלות?
Yes.
מדין נחלות.
שדה החוזר ביובל.
It's like הוא הנחיל.
Right. There's only one type of land that you can do business in Israel. Which is it? Bayit bebatei rechoimo. A house in a surround walled city, that's the only house that if you don't redeem after 1 year, 2 years, then it never comes back to you, which means the business is conditional. If you don't redeem it in 1 year, then it's the person's, that borders his forever. It's the only thing you can buy and own land forever, which is not your inheritance. Where Jewish people can make business deals and buying houses and land, only in Batei Rechoma, a house in the surround city. But Batei Chatzerim, Sadot, fields, or stam, houses in small cities, not surrounded cities, or fields and things like that, always comes back in the Jubilee year. Kever, a person who is owned. Every Jew has 4 amot in Israel to be buried, yes.
And what about if a non-Jew buy a house in a city from a Jewish property?
A non-Jew cannot buy a land in Israel.
Okay.
Gabe Sode, like in the Emirates and Saudi Arabia, if you're not a believer of Muhammad,
You're not part of it.
not part of it. Holy land. Gabe Sode Choseres Bayovel. A field that comes back in the Jubilee year. De'ein ha-bechoir noito bo pi shnayim. A firstborn son does not he doesn't get from it a double share. The man doma, one the opinion who holds kinyan peirois ke kinyan aguf domi. Since the buyer, which has usage of the next 50 years, he has kinyan peirois, and there is an opinion that holds that fruits usage rights are intrinsic. A kinyan aguf domi is like you have intrinsic ownership in the land reference to the fruits. It's called kinyan peirois, kinyan aguf domi. So there, the law is the firstborn son does not take double share in the future land that is going to come back. You know, it's a comeback. It's going to come back. It's a comeback. The land will come back to him.
Because the kingdom person.
Even though this land has a comeback, but since right now the person that holds the land, he has kinyan aguf, he has kinyan peiros and kinyan aguf, he has intrinsic ownership on it. So therefore, it's not considered that the Bechor is not considered that his father was a muhzak in it, and the Bechor doesn't get a double share in it. This is the Gemara. Capish? Again, some family, the Chupanasion family, they have land in Eretz Israel because they're the tribe of Dan. And land in Eretz Israel. And that got it from when they split Eretz Israel in the future, all the tribes will get from through a prophet. But we get land as an inheritance of the tribes. And you sell it within 50 years, the Jubilee will come back to you. And the father died before the Jubilee year came. The Bechor will not get double share in it. Why? Because the buyer has usage in it called kinyan peiros, fruits usage on it, like it's a phrase. Kinyan peiros means an acquisition of fruits of usage, which is an opinion that is like a kinyan aguf, that he has intrinsic ownership in reference to the usage. So because of that, it's not considered that his father was a muhzak on it, and his firstborn son will not get double share. Is it clear?
Yep.
Good. He says, ואוסו אי אפשר להפקיע מעמו איחר. there you can never break it away from a comeback to the seller. In the Jubilee year, there's no way out, must return. There's no way to destroy that comeback. By force, by force, the land will reach come back in the Jubilee year. It's a vadai. If this is true, we see that even though there's no doubt, for sure that will come back to the seller, yet the firstborn son is not considered, the father is not considered muhzak, and he doesn't get a double share in it. So we have a Gemara that you have always something which potentially come back, vadai, yet you're not a muhzak, you're not a holder, and the firstborn will not get double. V'im ken, if so, once we have a Gemara clearly in the end of the 4th chapter in Gittin, lo yutzrach haramot, the Yad Rama were not needed leforesh to explain the Gemara in Bo Basra, Beroi, the Yerusha, the Mikeroi, that by Yerusha inheritance, Roi, potential to come is called potential. Mishum da moiri shocholin konechosov, because what's the case? The case is ayisafta. So why by ayisafta the Yad Rama says, since the one that gives it over, he can sell his assets and will never reach to the one after him. And that's why it's Roi. Why do you have to come with that? That's the reason. Then when there's an option to get it out, is out, and that's why by the land of Eretz Yisrael, he said it's vadai, but if it was an option to sell, this is not considered muhzok, rather, not true. The balava itai, without that reason, we see from the Gemara in Ashaleach, since the future inheritor doesn't have any rights in those assets, like in the case of the Jubilee year. Right now, the father doesn't have rights because the receiver has Kinyan Pei, which was Kinyan Aguf. So the Kinyan Aguf, the intrinsic acquisition belongs to somebody else. It's not mine. So since it's not mine, which means I don't have rights in it, because if the receiver has rights of Kinyan Pei, Kinyan Aguf, I don't have those rights. So therefore, since I don't have the rights in it, it's considered Roi. Or say here, by Yerusha, by potential you're going to receive the inheritance, but the one who's going to give it to you back, it's only in condition he doesn't sell. So what do you have to come on that because it's a condition to sell? That's why. It's considered potential, it's not yours. Without that claim, anyhow, since you don't have right now the rights in it, because you could sell. But it's not because he could sell and never, it's a doubt will come back to you. Without doubt will come back. Right now, you don't have ownership on it. So therefore, it's considered potential. Like by Soda Chazer's by Yovel, that the Bechor doesn't take double share, because right now, the father doesn't have ownership on it because the receiver that bought the land has Kinyan Persin Aguf on it. He has intrinsic acquisition in it. Fruits acquisition like Kinyan Aguf, like the body acquisition. So I'll say here, why the Rama has to say that by Yerusha it's called Roi, because the Moirish can sell the assets, the one who's going to give over the inheritance. He can sell and he never get it. And therefore it's a suffix, not a vadai. Anyhow, even without a suffix, even without coming to the doubt of suffix and vadai. Right now you don't own it, so you don't own it, it's considered potential. Okay. He doesn't answer this question. He has a problem with the Yad Rama. Okay. Wow. But Lemaise Pshat and Toisves, which is what Nogea related to us. He learns Pshat and Toisves that when Toisves says that Makirikun is like a small gift, that there's a prohibition to retract, but you could legally retract. That's why the firstborn son, we get double share in it, but we had a problem. If, because you're allowed to retract, there's no ownership, so how can you inherit it altogether? Nothing with the father. And if he owns it, so why is he allowed to retract? So he answers he owns it, even though there's no Ma'asakinian, like we learned in Ksuba, there's a complete Gmirus Das. So he's basically putting toises like a Rashbam, there's a Gmirus Das here. And why are you allowed to retract? Because it's a conditional gift. Because the Chachomim, Kimlu, they went down to the understanding of a person when the object is by him, and he's giving it because he loves the person, or it's a small gift. It's Gomar Das, but as long as the object didn't reach the other person, he leaves himself and door always throwing out. And I always see when people promise me money to the yeshiva, they always leave the door to get out to pay it. I didn't promise. Mañana, tomorrow, I meant to say if I would have. I meant to say that they always leave themselves, right? A loophole, but it doesn't work because by tzedakah, when you promise, it's like an action. You already did an action. It already came to my hands. Why? Because the Gemara says, "Kol eicha deisa beigaz l'rachmona isa." Hashem doesn't need mokoim. Whatever you promise it right away is the place of God. Hashem has His hands on it, right? So there's no way out. But they act to tzedakah like business. Yes, who's speaking? Yes.
If the guy says, I want to give to the yeshiva, but he doesn't say
yes. Yes. That's why I always, when they call me to the time, I used to go to my father-in-law in what's that place called? And it's called Arnof. And I used to go, they used to call me to Torah. He says, and then he said, okay, Bavu, they give, and they tell you a price, 200 shekels. I said, okay. But I always want to say, but believe that why? Because I come to my father. With Shabbos, I don't have the money in my pocket. And then I go all the way to Artzion or another place. And then I have to remember to send them the 200 shekels. You know, it's a ticket to find the people to send it. Sometimes it costs me more money to send it than the money itself. And it's a ticha. So I was afraid, what I did, I had to run out. They should call me. Because they call me, I'm afraid not to fulfill. I didn't want to give the 200 shekels. In reality, it was too complicated to give it. So what I did is, I made sure every time I come with 200 shekels in my pocket. To make sure right away to Shabbos, before I leave to my house, I find the gabbai and I make sure to give it to him.
I saw Abba Zechatz Avocha and the Shul Gim Mordechai every time when you only when you had the money in the pocket.
Right. If the Chazal Shul you forget, it's what it befichu tzedakah. You promise it's finished. It's not a deal. When you said it's finished, finito la comedia. So you have to make sure. It says it's better not to vow than to vow not to keep. Not vow, you don't have to say the language of it. As long as he says, I'm going to give, say those words. I'm going to give the charity, boom. Be very careful.
I said I give this week, but I couldn't make it. But I give next week.
You could. But I'm saying it's dangerous. That's what I'm saying. I'm the fear of danger. The Gemara says if somebody promises doesn't keep, his children die. His young children die. So it's there's a lot of punishments. We learned the Donim recently, right? We learned the Fayim in the Donim recently. All those curses. It's very dangerous. The Shlomo HaMelech says, better not to vow than to vow not to keep. What is he saying? He's saying, once you vow, it's a big challenge to keep it. It's better to start. You learn from that, it's better, if you want to do a tzedakah or charity, it's better not to speak. If you want to be a big shot and speak, before for sure you can keep it, you fall into a pit. Now, I mean, it's good, so make sure to keep it, but as the advice Shlomo HaMelech tells you, it's better not to speak. When you have the money in your pocket, just walk over and give it. Or you have the check to write, just come over and write the check. But between promise and giving the check, it's dangerous. So you don't keep, Hashem punishes a person. Very dangerous. So that's why I told those stories. I was afraid always to go those places. They call me up to the Torah, says to give, so yeah, give tzedakah. And I have I have to wait till Motzei Shabbos to pay it, and then I have a big challenge to find the gabbai, to find the money, and I go to another city, another neighborhood, and I'm going to keep my promise.
Because you need to travel, you need to go somewhere else.
Okay, so I'm locked in because they call up to the Torah. I'm not going to go up to the Torah. I guess I don't want to go because I can't pay
Why
the
don't
money.
you carry a checkbook?
And Shabbos,
Check, no.
so I learned that when I go to another place, and they might call up to the Torah, I must go with money to that place in my pocket. To make sure that they'll call me to and ask me for a donation. I have to make sure to keep it.
A lot of shuls they do,
Right, a lot of shuls know that. And all they say the word bli neder, or for the sake of the call blesses you. They don't force you to say because they know. A lot of people promise, they don't keep. So it's better not to have them promise than they don't keep. And if they want to keep, let's just come over and give them money. But that's two ways how to act. Another way, if you don't force people to promise, they never keep. So the tzedakah side, it's good to make them promise, otherwise they don't keep. It's good to give them the pressure, but from the person's side, it's better not to promise. It's very hard to keep. So be very careful.
It's not the same thing.
Our sugi is when I promise a small gift, or makir kuna, I have a prohibition to keep my word, but it's not a vow. The vow is much more serious. Because here is just in Shamayim, it said the Jewish people don't prevail their words, they don't speak false. But a vow is different. A vow you must keep as a prohibition is allowed, you get lashes. And a vow, a person doesn't keep his vows, young children die. And heaven and earth shook. There's a lot of punishments, much more severe when a person doesn't keep his word or doesn't keep his vow. Vow's much worse. That's a whole tract to them the dogging, right? It's a whole tract that a person has to keep his vow. Anyhow, so let's go back to us.
Oh.
Yes.
So one question. Empty check, which is a check with no writing.
What?
An empty check, which is a check, not writing name, number, nothing.
What is empty check?
Which is a check, you tear one sheet from the checkbook.
Yes.
You didn't write anything.
Yes.
Is it considered a valid check, or you consider carry a paper?
I think it's Shabbos is a muktzah.
On Shabbat.
It's a muktzah, yes.
And even
Because there's no other designation, only to write checks, monetary things. But some people use, let's say, the checkbook as a liner to read, so they can put a line to read and not to get the eyes shouldn't jump around. Or they use certain things. Even as another usage. There's not muktzah you can use.
So that's my question, because you are not
But
writing.
who uses a small piece of paper of check to other usages? It's not normal. But if it's normal, it's good. If you buy normal by your community, your type of people, or you yourself, that's what you do all the time. So then there's a way to permit it. But otherwise, it's muktzah. Let's go back to us. So now, we have the Kovet Shiurim that as a new pshat and toises. We had the ktsois that says that really there's no ownership, there's a prohibition, and that's enough to make you a mukh, you don't own it, and you can yoyesh it, and you can even magdish it. That's you can do tumas u'maisas. And you had the nesiva that says it's matnas kuna, just normally you have the rights to decide who to give. Here, because of prohibition, the Torah took away that rights, and it belongs to the kohen. And you have the kovet shiurim that is a gemirus das, and you don't need my sekinyan. It's like those are the things that have been nikne with gemirus das alone. But on wedas mekirikuna, a person writes a star to give matirikuna for metaltalim. So since he wrote a star for metaltalim, it's a complete gemirus das, and he wants to acquire it. So why he's allowed to retract? Although there's a prohibition to retract, but why legally can retract? Because the gift was a gift and condition. But he had a Diad Ramah that said not so. Diad Ramah says what is conditioned. It's not considered muhzak. So Diad Ramah holds like the Rabbeinu Yoina that you're not allowed to retract. So the Rabbeinu Yoina and Diad Ramah argue on Toysmas. The Toysmas that says that Makir Gurus Makatam Nuetes, it's just a prohibition to retract. But you're allowed legally to retract. You have to say the Pshat is a gift and Nai. In the Yad Ramah, you have to say, the also the Rabbeinu Yoina, that Mirabonim is koinet, But if it wasn't just a gift on night, gift and condition, it wouldn't be a muhzak on it. He has a side question on Yad Ramah from the end of the chapter, fourth chapter, and Gittin, why Soda Choseres by Yovel? We see from the Kinyan Peres Genaguf that Shenat Zoycha is also by Achei Choloploini. Why the Yad Ramah say that because he can sell and then leave you nothing, that's why it's not muhzak. A better reason that right now is a Kinyan Peres Genaguf and the other person says, I don't have those rights right now. So it's considered you're not muhzak. Okay, so he stays with the Kasha and Yad Ramah. This is a summary of what we learned last week. Now we continue on. We're marching. Now we have to learn we have a Reb Kiva Eiger here. That says, I'm reading in Reb Kiva, you see Reb Kiva Eiger, right below the Toises in Ksubis. It says, Kosa b'shulchan siman reish daled seif chet. V'chen mi shoyim lechaver litem lo imaton levo le'notzan le'chos ramona. One who promises to give a gift to another person who doesn't gift, he breaks a prohibition that the Jewish people don't has false words. Those are talking about only maton moed, a small gift. Why? The receiver rely on this promise. So therefore, your words have to be a word. You gave a word, you have to keep it. Kiva Eiger says, Umikol mokum in any place. If he dies, nire den mutol ayorshim litel amaton. De'ein mutol ayorshim litel amaton. When somebody promises a small gift, Kiva Eiger says that if he dies, his children don't need to give that gift. Now, if the person already owned it, like the Kovit Shurim, there's no such thing. If he dies, the inheritors, the children have to give that gift. They must keep that gift. What? They have to give because he owns it. Even according to the Ktsois, that he's not an owner, but he's a muhzak. So you give that inheritance, and maybe the kids need to keep. I don't know. It's a shayla. But definitely, there's no kinyan. The kids don't need to keep their promise. But if it was a kinyan like the Kovit Shurim, you have to give it. So we see Kiva Eiger argues on the Kovit Shurim. Okay. Now we're going to start with the Kilot Yaakov. I see. I thought I have it here, but I don't. Where's the Kilot Yaakov? We need a Kilot Yaakov. We printed it.
Yeah.
Everybody has it. What? You have it? I don't have it here. I have to go back to my house. I left it somewhere. Well, everybody has? They have? Kilot Yaakov. People have it? Yes. Very good. Let's start doing the Kilot Yaakov.
When I say he's Yaakov in Gittin,
Yes.
he brings to the Simon Hay in Gittin.
Good.
How I know that when we saw that you have to see about Makiri.
And by the way, one of the most famous pieces of the Kilot Yaakov that the world accept as an answer is this Kilot Yaakov. Yes, Kilot Yaakov is very amazing. Is one of the only rabbis, not there is like him, but that in his lifetime, his book was world famous. Everybody was learning in a Smithers. It's very sweet Torah.
I heard from
Easy and
Chaim
sweet.
Zimmerman's son
Yes.
that why his book was very, very miskala. All the Torah that he had, after he had the Torah, he wrote it 10 times. 10 times to make
To
sure
be easy written.
Yeah.
Yes.
He wrote it 10 times to make sure it'll be easy
To read it. Should be easy to read it. But many people do that.
What?
I don't believe that.
What do you think the reason is?
Because there's a tzaddik. That's all. Torah Lishma. Simple. You learn Torah Lishma, Hashem gives you siyata Lishma, people read your Torah. When you want to show off yourself, just take show off. Simple. That's simple. Torah Lishma. Not many people learn Torah Lishma. Very few. But he was a tzaddik all his life. And he has good Torah.
You saw him, right?
Saw him. I went to him, I was shaking on my boots, my weeds. It was mamish scary. It was like his son. He was like his son. The son was like him. But you walked into him, suddenly could have said, Beruach HaKodesh things at you. You know? It was one of those rabbis.
Chaim or the Stipler?
The Stipler too. Yeah, mamish Ruach HaKodesh. Scary. Chaim Kanievsky, mamish in public all the time, constantly at Ruach HaKodesh. It was mamish scary. People were afraid to go to him because he just, there's a famous story. My son-in-law, my brother-in-law, had an unbelievable story with Chaim Kanievsky that he had a Yeshiva Katana. Yeshiva Katana, what's a Yeshiva Katana? Like a high school. So kids, 15 years old. So he came to Chaim Kanievsky, and they passed one by one. They came to Chaim Kanievsky, they passed one by one. That they asked Chaim Kanievsky to give a bracha. So they passed the kids, and one of the kids of Chaim Kanievsky doesn't give it a bracha. So they thought maybe he missed it. So they brought him back again. When the line finished, they brought him back again to give a bracha. Chaim doesn't give a bracha. Okay, they know what to do. Then they wait to speak, they bring him back again. Third time, so Chaim Kanievsky says, why does he have an ox on his forward? On his forward, on Metzach. What? What is he talking about? Okay. The Rosh Hashiva didn't say anything. He waited, everybody left out. He went to Chaim Kanievsky and says, Rebbe, what does it mean he has an ox on his forward? He says, the Zohar Kodesh says that somebody doesn't keep basar v'chalav, he has a show, an ox on his forward. True story, this story. So she said, what? When does he keep? He took that child, that boy, into the side room, says, listen, tell me what's going on. Tell me what's going on. I know you learn good, but do you keep basar v'chalav? I mean, that's Hashem Te'ezer, you Haredi, for sure you keep, but do you keep basar v'chalav? So sure I keep. He says, what do you mean you keep? You really keep? He says, yeah, I do. And suddenly the child started to cry. He says, yes, every day after lunch, the yeshiva gives 3 times a week, gives lunch, fleishik lunch. And I have a big taiva to drink coffee with milk after that. And I go and drink coffee with milk.
So some people,
certain tzaddikim, this was every day by him, by Chaim Kanievsky. Yes.
He came and there was a very long line. Rav Chaim knew he was there. He said, call that guy. And he didn't come out. He said, call this, I want to see this guy.
Right?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable stories. But what's amazing in our days, it's not like a story 100 years ago. And nowadays we saw our eyes, day after day, miracles. There was miracles around them constantly.
That's why I hear that when the rabbi, when some people, when they see the forehead, they will see exactly what have you done.
Yeah, but a lot of rabbis don't see. Most 99.99 don't see. What's the difference? Because when a person learns Torah Lishma, he's a righteous man, all his life, submit himself to Hashem, 100%, not 99%. So Hashem gives him different things. Zocher says in the Mishnah, you zocher to many things. Simple. And we saw in our days, There were such people in our generations, and we saw it was real. Yeah, Baba Sali, I never knew him. But Hakanevsky I saw many times in my own eyes. Stories that I had, not from another second word.
Baba Sali I saw with my own eyes, a nest in front of me.
Yeah, so there are certain people that tzaddikim all their life. And you saw miracles. Mamash, constant, not from time to time, constant, all the time. There were another type of people. Another type of people. Okay, anyhow, let's continue on. Simen Lamed Zayin, Beinyan Makire Kunas, page Kuf Yutet, in Baba Basra, in Kilot Yaakov. Baba Basra, the Kilot was very easy to read, so we're going to glance through this.
Could you ask them if they have the
You guys, Reb Reuven, Reb Moshe, Reb Shmuel Priya, Reb Yossi, do you guys have Kilot Yaakov? Rabbi Pia, do you have Kilot Yaakov?
Yeah.
Good. Reb Michael, they all have. Good. Was a good messenger. B'Bobasa Kuf Chof Gimel Amud Beis Tonu Rabbonon. The rabbis taught us. Abechor Noitel Pishnayim. A firstborn son takes double share. Bezroa Belchayayim V'Keiva. The Gemara has a kasha. What's the case of Zorah L'chaim V'Keiva? Idos and the Ravuon, if already that those gifts reach the hands of the father, Pshita simple, is Muchzak. Vanai, the firstborn son will get double. What's the Chiddush? V'idos and the Ravuon, if they didn't reach the hands of the father, it's not a true law. It's or according to the Rimigash, it's Vanai not his. Comes from the inheritance of the kids. The gifts are not part of the inheritance. Or just Roy. So the Gemara answers. We're dealing with friends of family, of Kohanim, friends or family or lovers of Kohanim, that they always give them the gifts. But the Ishtachet B'chayavun was slaughtered in the life of the father. Etc. And we hold Matone Shalom Kibul Shmunan. Ubatoises Matchil Ocham.
We hold what?
That gifts that were not picked up as if they got picked up. Separated. Ubatoises de Matchil Ocham V'chule. Toises that we read many times says as follows. Bechol Duchto in all places of Shas. Ovi they make Makire Kunu Muchzak. In many places of Shas, they make friends of Kohen. If a Kohen is a friend of a Jew, of Israel, reference that he gets his gifts constantly. That Kohen is a muchzok, he's a holder of those gifts. It could be, but later on, it's not so. Right, could be Rabbi Yossi, yeah. Amal ve'moises HaKohen. One who lends money to a Kohen, and Vesalevi or Levi, and he deducts the loan from the gifts he needs to give them. V'ainu taima. What's the reason he can deduct? And why is considered a holder of it? To give inheritance to firstborn son double. Shezeu matona muetes. It's a small gift. V'osu lachzabo, you're not allowed to retract. Afilu bedvorim ba'alma, even just with words. V'af alpin, even though shimrotzo yochol lachzabo, even though that even when he wants, he could retract. Mikol mokum, in any place, kol kama delo odar, as long as he didn't retract, Avik Muchzok is like a holder. So Toisa says Makiri Kuna is like Matonu Muetes, small gift. That you're not allowed to retract, even words alone. Even if you want to retract legally, you could, but as long as you didn't retract, you consider a Muchzok.
You can say like the Kavach Shurim shot.
You can say many pshat. Kavach Shurim, you can say that like the Ktsois. This is the quote of Toises. Ad Kanashon. Comes the Kiddush Yaakov and he says, ויעיר ידיד נפשי. מעלת כבוד תורוסו זצ"ל. He doesn't say who. Very strange. He says, my close friend of my soul.
Yeah, I looked up all these here and I couldn't figure out. I just understood what you said.
You do understood and you understand?
I understood just like you said.
Very good.
That's what it means.
ויעיר נפשי מעלת כבוד תורתו. The value of the honor of his Torah. Shlita is שיחיה לחיים טובים ארוכים, או אמן. שיחיה לחיים טובים אמן. או זצ"ל זכר צדיק לברכה. כיוון since דאין זה קניין. Since there's no acquisition, simply you read in Tosfot. רק מוכר, just a holder, מטעם from the reason. שאסור לחזור בו, not to retract. איך אמרין in בגיטין, how we say in the Gemara in Gittin. So, the מכירי כהונו יוכל הכהן ליתן דמיין by a family, friends of a Kohen. The Kohen can give those gifts, that money, to somebody else, or the value of the gifts, he can give it to the Jew to deduct the loan. Aloi behold, kol kama de lo zocha kohen. As long the Kohen didn't merit those gifts, the mandas kuno, bekinim in acquisition. Eino yochel mocha, he can't sell it. Va'akatin still, lo imekayna be'olim, the owners do not fulfill mitzvahs natina, the mitzvah of giving. Simple question. Who asks this question? Shiurim. Everybody asks this question, right? How can he give? Mandas kuna.
It's a lose-lose proposition.
The lezocha makoyim mandot kuna. Bekinyan and echol amocha. If the Kohen didn't merit the matnas kuna, the gift of priesthood, with acquisition, how can he sell it? And how can the Bailim fulfill the mitzvah of giving when the Kohen didn't acquire it yet? So if the Kohen didn't acquire it, he didn't fulfill the mitzvah of the Sina. And the Kohen, how can the Kohen sell it and give that value back to deduct his loans? Capish? Simple. Vada we had, all over, that's all we're dealing the last 2 weeks. A week and 4 days. Ube'emes and surely, Lani uzdaiti, my poor knowledge. Now, the Kilot Yaakov goes on, the next 3 pages, 5 pages, to give many options and solutions, and he starts swimming in the sea of the Shas, to say what he said and to bring proofs, and up and down. Let's see what he says. Ube'emes and truly Lani uzdaiti, my poor knowledge. If you read the Gemara Bobasra itself, it means forget about the words of Tosfot. If you just read the Gemara itself, it's proven. It says the word muchach. You hear this, Rabbi Fisher? Muchach. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. The Kilogos says muchach. Misugal Bobasra gufa muchach. Then he used the word lichoyva, apparently. He starts muchach, then lichoyva.
It just seems that way.
Seems that the way, it seems that it's muchach. That what?
What is right?
Let's see. The Gvar Kno Akoyen, that the Kohen did acquire it. So if you read the Gemara simply, it's muchach that the Kohen does acquire that gift. He's already coined it. Why? The Isal Kadaitach. Because if you want to say, if you is in your mind, if you have a thought in your mind, not so, the loikono, that he didn't acquire. Ma bekach davemuchzuk. What do I care? That the father is a holder of it. Atu im yetofus b'darefke. Is it if somebody will be a holder and something which is hefker, sheina shel is not his? Shaykh Bazadin Yerushas Bechoy, does apply in it the law of inheritance of a firstborn son? Inheritance, if I'm holding something which is not mine, can I give that to my son? Double share. It doesn't. So it cannot be that he's a holder, not an owner. If you hold that owner, how can you inherit it? So he says, forget about, you have a kasha on Tosfot.
How can be a tofus in Hefker?
What was our kasha? How can Tosfot says that he's a holder, not acquiring it? We have a problem with Gemara and Gittin. How can the Kohen, which is a Makir Kuna, can sell the value of those gifts of Kuna and deduct his loans? It's just the Gemara itself. It talks about inheritance. If you own a muhzeh, not an owner, how can you give that inheritance? Both questions. Everybody asks. Shi'ur. Okay, but let's see what he says. In the book called Ksois HaChoishen, Rebari Lev HaKoyen Shem, Siman Reisha in Chesiv Kotam Tzvok, Oichiach, he proven. Behem is truly Me'od Makir Kuna. He says, what can you do? We see from this Gemara Makir Kuna, the Shayach does apply. Yerushas Bechoy, inheritance of firstborn son. Gam Bedover, also with something, Shelo Yizocha Bo, you didn't merit it. Rak only, should begin the muhzok is only in the realm of a holder. He says, you're right, you have a good kasha, but azoi shtei, they say. The question is the answer. That's what it says. You could give inheritance when you're a holder, even though you're not an owner. And you're going to be an owner very easy, and you cannot retract not to be an owner. It's in your reach of your hands. So you're a holder, and you're going to be an owner. It's like something that's yours, you can give inheritance. Veloma mikan, and the Ktsois learned from here. The Kshenish Balo Chaveiroi, Liten Matono, when your friend promises you with an oath to give you a gift, the Choshi Muchzok is you consider that you are a holder of that promise of gift. Ubechoy Lod Mishtayim, the firstborn son will take a double share, which is only in Makir. Makir Kuna only creates a prohibition not to retract. But what happens in prohibition not to retract is even stronger of Mechusar Ramona. It's an oath, a vow, an oath, which to retract from a vow, an oath, is much more worse, much stronger. He said, the Ktsois learned a case, if it will be a case, that somebody will promise his friend to give him a gift, and he took an oath on it. He says, I learned from this Gemara Makir Kuna that the receiver of that promise, of an oath, he's a muhzok, he's a holder, even though he's not an owner yet, but he will be an owner because there's a prohibition to retract, and he can give an inheritance to double share to his firstborn son. Good, he said, the Ktsois was pushed to the corner, and he's saying Yiddish, Azoi Shteit, is what it says. But in Svara is a big wonder, which means if I can produce another Svara, another way to read the Gemara, I won't come out to some outrageous understanding. However, this is a wonder in understanding. The Mai Shayach Yerusha, what kind of a connection or belong in what inheritance is Shayach? How do you say the word Shayach? Relevant. Oh. How can Yerusha is relevant? Bedovo, inheritance, how can inheritance be relevant? Something that the one is giving me the inheritance, he never merited it. Vanesivas. So the Nesivas we saw. Mechalek. He makes a split. The Davka specifically, Manaskun or Shulshul Koyen. You know why? Why he can give that inheritance? Because Manaskun is special. Not like the Ktsois. Manaskun just creates a prohibition. And the same thing is by an oath. It's not a gift and an oath. No. The prohibition plus it's matnas kahuna. It's a gift of kahuna. Matnas kahuna belongs, Dushal Kohen belongs to the priest. We talk for Kohen, we see that what happens by gifts of kahuna and his makiri kahuna, if somebody has matnas kahuna to give to a Kohen, and that Kohen is his friend, the Kohen can attack. We talk for Kohen, Makir Kuna no chav lachzir. If the Kohen attacked, he doesn't need to give it back. because it's Vaday Mandaskuna. It's not like Sofik Bechoy, it's a Shail, Tokfakoi Matzil, and Matzil. But Vaday Mandaskuna and Makiri Kuna, you don't need to give back.
And you grab what's yours.
That's what it must be. Cave and the Boli Mosulazo. Since the owner is not allowed to retract, and Matonus belongs to the Kohen, and Lo Boy Shuv to us, so now anymore, once I grab, the owner doesn't have any rights to decide who to give it. Lino Lachet to give it to somebody else. Umimeilen by itself, Yochol HaKohen Litoifes. Litvois, the Kohen can grab. Which means, really, every Madnas Kuna belongs to the Kohen.
Right.
Just, the owner has rights to choose who, but when he has a prohibition, he lost his rights, the Torah never gave those rights. And it stays as original status, it belongs to the Kohen. So that's why the Kohen is allowed even to attack it. Because you have prohibition, you lost, by Machir Kuna, you lost your options, Mimela belongs to the Kohen. So the Kohen is allowed to get it, it belongs to the Kohen. So Mimela, it's a Kohen. Oh, one thing is, that the Sivas didn't relate, that there's many Kohanim. There's 100,000 Kohanim. So one second. Since it's Makire Kuna, means you lost your right to choose, means you lost your right to choose to give to others only to me. So Mimei, it's mine. I'm like the only coin around. That's probably what the Nesivas meant to say. Yes, somebody wanted to ask a question, I stopped him. Yes, who wants to speak? Yes, Rabbi Shmuel. So that was the question we asked on the Nesivas, and we answered that normally, since the Baal Abayit, the Bailim has the option to give who they want to, means it belongs to the whole tribe. But once the Baal Abayit lost that rights to give to who he wants, because his Makir Kuna means there's only one coin in the tribe here. Reference to you don't have rights to give it to anybody else, you lost those rights. See, Mela belongs to the coin. That's part of what he meant. Comes the Kilot Yaakov and he says, Vegamze, also this answer of the Nesivas, Eino Muvon, is not understandable. The Afil le Divra Nesivas, even according to the words of the Nesivas, the Yochoi Litvois Veliskois, that the coin could grab and merit. Good, you could grab and merit. Mabekach she Yochoi Lignos. What do I care that you have the potential, right? It's in Spanish. Potential. What do I care about potential? Mabekach she Yochoi Lignos, that you could acquire. Baal koicho by definition against the owner. Mikol mokom, however, as long, kol, all, kol kama deloitofas, turn the page. As long you didn't grab it, lavdina, it was not yours. Why? Since Toises explained the chosru, that if the owners retract, chazarosom chazora, they could retract. Which means as long as you didn't grab, they can retract. It's not yours. So true, you're allowed to grab by force, because since Makir Kuna, the owners lost the right to give it to any person they want, but I need a grab. What's the right that as long as I didn't grab, it's not mine, because the owner can retract. So it cannot be the Nesivas like I just said before. Since is the money of the tribe. And normally every man is the money of the tribe, because the Balabai has the rights to give it any coin he wants in the tribe. So because of the rights of the Balabai, it gives rights to all the tribes. But once as Makir and Kuna, the Balabai is not to give to nobody else, only him. See, the Torah didn't give him those rights to give to anybody else. So he mainly belongs, so there's only one coin in the tribe. But still the Nesiva says, comes the Kilot Yaakov and he says, that's not a good answer. Why? Because according to what we just said now, the Nesivas learns that since the Balabai lost the rights to give it to anybody else, there's only one coin in the tribe, belongs to that coin. What's the right? If he attacks, you have to give it back. Not true. But the Toisa said it's like Matonu Muetes, that if the Balabai retracts, they'll have to retract. Right? How can he retract? If there's only one coin in the tribe, and therefore he owns it, even before the grabbing, so why the balabai can retract? What? Yeah, but the Nesiva said, let's open the Nesiva's words. The Nesiva says, Matonos ushel koyen. That's the words of the Nesiva's was. So it said, Lefia news daita, I read in fourth line from the top, and I've bait and slabot kashitz. In the right column of the Nesivas, on top of the page. Lefia news daita dikaratam, to provide more knowledge, the main reason is, the davka b'matonos kuna dehu shel koyen. Says the master of the kuna belongs to the koyen. Vi talk for koyen makir and chayav lachzir. If he attack, I don't have to give it back. Like we see Muvur and Toises, this is talk for koyen. Vatam, the reason is the matnos kunu shel koyen. Matnos belongs to the koyen. Like sheyesh lo balabai to vasal mitzvah achmona. The balabai can give it to anybody else. There's not only one kohen, there's many kohanim. But here there isn't. They came and also lachzor, but you're allowed to retract. Nisbatel is being cancelled. After Basanosh and Osla is being cancelled the gift that the Torah gave him. Why? The B'mokamisa, the place of prohibition, and Osla the Torah never gave him that option. They came and Shu, no Yocholazoi, since the Balabai cannot retract. V'amekabel Yochol Tokva Balkocho, and the receiver can attack by force. Shalosh of the giver. When you do grab it, you'll be yours totally to marry a woman with it. So he's a muhzak. So here, the Nesiva didn't say he owns it.
Right.
He says, when I will grab it, it will be mine totally. Kadesha, now it's mine, but not totally. But in the beginning, he said, Matnos Kunu Shel Koye.
Shel muhzak.
Yeah.
Shel muhzak.
He says, by Shvur, B'Sham Matanos, when the Dafilim Turim Lo Yish Shaloi Achik Lo Bekiya. But here is Mashma, it's Shaloi, but not Legamre. What do you mean Shaloi, but not Legamre? Means Legamre, if I grab, I can marry a woman with it. It's mine. But here it's mine. But I cannot marry a woman with it, but it's mine. And I'm a muhzak in it. So he says, what's going on? If it's yours, but not legamre, how can the balabait retract? That's the kasha of Kilot Yaakov. Let's go back to the kasha of Yaakov. He says, I'm reading again the kasha, turn the page Kuf Yutet, 3 lines to the bottom, and left column. He attacks the Nesivas. The Gamze no move on. Also, this is not understandable. The afil if he divrei Nesivas, even according to words of Nesivas. The yochoy lead for Ivelis koizma that he could grab it and merit it. Ma bekach, what do I care? What do I care that he has the potential to acquire it by force of the owners and become yours to Mekadesh Isha? Nikol Mokam, however, Kol Kama de Lotofas, as long as you didn't grab it yet, Lavdida you, I would say in the language of the Sivas, it's Loshol Legam, it's not yours totally. What is this middle page? I mean, it's not yours totally, marry a woman, it's not yours. Lavdida you. Kevin Shabira Toysa, since Toysa said, the Chosma Bolim, if the owners retract, it could retract. So Mashayich Yerusha, what does inheritance apply here? But those we need to merit in it. So for a long time, I combine the Kovetchurim together with the Nesivas. I had a doubt in my mind. Does the Nesivas say Pshat in Toisves? It seems to be he's quoting Toisves in Bo Metzia. So from that you can deceive yourself. There's maybe saying Pshat in Toisves. But don't forget that the Nesivas is Halacha book. The Nesivas is Halacha book. So he says the Ktsoish learned from Toisves that you're muchzor without an owner. He says not true. The Ikar Tam is it's a Tam da Halacha. But now this is Pshat in Toisves. You understand? But Simply saying Pshat because he's quoting Toys of Metzia. So the Metzia says, I can attack, that's Pshat now. Toys says, okay.
Is that to say that the Nesivos...
That's one option in my mind, and he was saying Pshat Naloch and not Toys, but the simple Pshat is, he's saying Pshat and Toys. So what I did is I combined the Kovitchurim together with the Nesivos, which means, really, only by Madness Kohuna,
It's a kingdom goal.
it's a Kingdom Gomo by Makire Kohuna. And because as Matonu Moetes, that you're not allowed to have a permission to retract, means the Torah took away your option to choose. So you took away the option to choose, and that belongs to the Kohen. And he's allowed to attack it. And when he will attack it, it'll be completely his. They can marry a woman, and now he has what? He has, like the Kovitchurim says, he has a gift with a condition to break. To break. Right. But it's not a good answer at all. Why? Because if you look at the language of the Nesivos, he's not saying, according to the Kovitchurim, can a person marry a woman? Can the father marry a woman with the Makire Kuna? Can he marry a woman, give a woman that gives Makire Kuna right now before he attacked it? Yes, because it's his. You have a condition he could exercise to break. But once he didn't exercise, retroactively is his. In retroactive, the woman will be married.
Even according to the Sivas.
But according to the Sivas, he's not saying it's his to marry a woman. He says it's not legamre. When you attack the shaloi legamre to marry a woman, right now not. According to the Shurim, it's shaloi legamre. Just you have an option. It's a doubtful. It's hanging. We see if he exercised or retract, he exercised. But if he didn't use the condition, lemafreya, as the Shurim says, retract will be his totally, and the kiddush will be kiddushi. So that's why you cannot attach the Kovitchurim together with the Nesivos.
But this is
Yes, go ahead.
Even the guy's mulzo.
Yes.
Even his mulzo.
Yes.
And you'll be makadeshisha or work.
Yes.
Beichos muzokos, if you did a nice kiddushim, and
if I own something and I'm muhzak it, I own it. And I'm muhzak it, I can marry a woman with it.
Even a mulzak a potential holding it.
Not potential. Potential is only siman ladovo. Shlomo, potential is only siman ladovo.
But I'm a mulzak.
One sec. I'm a muhzak, but I'm an owner, not an owner.
I give you an example. Kolan in Gova is mekadesh isha. It works.
Yes, right, it does.
Why? It's only mulzak. He's not shaloi.
No, this shalom.
No.
Right now, that no is shalom.
When a guy's mulzak, now it's his.
So you could make a woman.
Yes.
But the Nesivos says no.
Even
But the Nesivos says no, my friend.
No, he says
Rabbi, the Nesivos says no. It's only when he attacks it. She tefenu. When you attack him, Aaron, before you're not shaloi legamre. You're not Aaron. And if it's according to the Kovitchurim, it's his. So that's what the Kiddush says. I don't know the Nesivos. What is this middle case? Shaloi lo legamre. You can retract means it's not shaloi. And you say, no, it is shalom, because Madnas Kuna and the Torah didn't give you the... And more than that, I would say more. You know what? I have a stronger kasha than the Nesivos. Well, hey, listen, I have a much stronger kasha than the Nesivos. It's a pellet on my mind. Why did the Kiddush didn't ask this question? According to the Nesivos, Toysus is wrong. Why? Because according to the Nesivos, that the owner lost the rights to decide who to give it. So how can Toysa says he's allowed to retract? He lost his rights already. By matonu muetes, by a small gift, I have a prohibition to retract. But legally, if I retract, works. Here, I don't. Once the Torah took away my rights, it's not a prohibition. The Nesivos jump another level. He didn't say a prohibition. He said Torah took away your rights. Took away your rights, so you can't retract. It's a contradiction. Lie, 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 lie. To the level that I said to myself, that the Nesivos not saying Pshat and Toises. It's saying Pshat na Aloha. Not Pshat and Toises. It's a book of a Halachic book. It says this law is a true law, and the Pshat is that the Torah took it away from him. Just this middle ground, I don't know. So we have a problem with the middle ground. That's Shaloi lo legamre. Called Muhzak. And then we have a problem, but it cannot fit in Toises.
And this is what you see.
That you could retract. So then it could be all the Kovitchurim's option that is his at night.
Right.
But if you don't say is his at night, rather he said that is his because Hashem took away the rights. The Torah didn't give his rights anymore to choose. It's Vaday the Kohen. So then you have a problem in understanding internally. It's called internal contradiction, or you call it, I forgot the word in English. It's internal contradiction is a word. Paradox. It's a paradox. Because if you say it's his, so why is he allowed to retract? And if you say it's his, why is not Sholei Legam? Why he has to attack it? Right? So this Nesivos needs a lot of explanation in Toises. Huh? So we need an explanation in Toises. La he can say what he said. Halachically, jumping and just understanding Pshat and Halacha, he could. But in Toises,
What makes you sure that the Nesivos is not like the Ramah?
What?
The Ramah, Rabbi Yonah.
Yes.
That they all
Yad Ramah.
That they all get touched.
Yes, they argue Toises.
No.
They're all you cannot retract.
So let's add the Nesivos to
The
that.
Nesivos can follow the Halacha like the Rabbeinu Yoino and Yad Ramah. But he quote Toises, so but it's not this, and I think very strong that's what he holds. Although he quote Tosfos in Bometzia, just for the halacha, the understanding, but not pshat in Tosfos. That's a simple way to read the Nesivos. But to say he's saying pshat in Tosfos doesn't fit. Not only because this question that since you can retract, it means it's not his. So no, you have internal paradox. He says, how can if you can retract? So what kind of Yerusha he can have? I say no. If he can retract, it's against the Nesivos point that is the Kohen, and he lost the rights. If he lost the right, he cannot retract. So it cannot be like Matan Moedas. So the Nesivos cannot fit in the Toises Pshat. What do you want to ask Rabbi Gabriel?
We say that Rivas Anoa is Momon, then we'll be understanding that. Because,
What?
if we say that Rivas Anoa is Momon, then we can say that he can retract because he's giving Momon at night, like the kosher. It's like giving his rights and at night. If he doesn't retract.
Yeah, but if he's saying that the Nesivos doesn't say that. The Nesivos says that the Torah took away his rights. The language of the Nesivos says the language of the Nesivos says the Rachmona, the most of one, the B'mokem Yisrael lo ynos lo Rachmona. In the place of prohibition, the Torah didn't give you those rights, so you don't have it. So he doesn't have it, you can't retract. It's not yours. That jump of the Nesivos cannot fit in Toises. It's a paradox. Yes, Reb Chaim.
Nesivos did not say Pshat in Toises.
Very good. Once again, Reb Chaim. Right? It's just a Pshat in the Halacha, not Pshat in Toises. So people mistake and they think they say Pshat in the Okay, that's what I said. I know, that's what you said. That's what I just said. Shkoyach. Yes, Reb Chaim. No. Reb Chaim, you're right. In general, when the Torah says don't steal, question if you steal, if it works or not. But it's not our case here. And the Nesivos says that the Torah never gave you rights. He's learning Pshat in the Torah. It's not what the Torah gave you, the Torah says don't do, so if he did it works or not. Don't steal, if you steal, it's yours. Something else. That's not our case. He says the Torah, because of the provision of the Torah, they gave you those rights. It's a general rule, but here, the Torah didn't tell you don't do. That, if the Nesivos said, like Toy says, there's a prohibition, so the Torah told you don't do. So if he did, the Maisa works. Legally. He's not saying that. The Nesivos said something else. He says because of Torah, when you have a prohibition, the Torah gave you that does rights. That's what he says. Look at the Nesivos. I don't know where he got it from. His own svara, but once he said, you can ask him where he got it from. We're not asking where he got it from. We're saying what is Pshat in Nesivos. According to what he said, it doesn't make sense in Toises. It could be a pshat in halacha, but not pshat in Toises. Okay, we'll stop here. Okay, good. But you see, nobody learned like me. The Kilot Yaakov learned as pshat in Toises, and everybody else, when they quoted the Sivas, then it's still pshat in Toises. You have to say, no, it's not pshat in Toises, not halacha, not in Toises. Okay.